Hæ? Hva kikker du på? Jeg skal pule deg med øksa! Alright, today I want to give you a look at this Viking helmet by Lord of Battles. It's based on the Gjermundbu helmet, which is so named after a farm in Norway where it was found not terribly far from Oslo, or Oslo as the locals call it. It was found in 1943, and this is the only complete helmet from the Viking Age. There are a few others, but they're from the earlier Vendel period, and so this dates back to the mid to late 10th century. And this is what I would call a budget helmet. It's on Cult of Athena for, I think it was around $120 US. I'll post it down below. And that's really not a whole lot for a reproduction. I mean, if you want a perfectly historically accurate reproduction of a Viking helmet, you're looking at more like 500. I've seen some really nice ones for 800, and the sky is the limit essentially as far as the upper range is concerned. As you can see, it makes my head look like a comically oversized balloon, and my head is kind of big to begin with. And it's not the most comfortable thing to wear. Weight-wise isn't too bad, really. It's really more the liner that's not terribly well made, and it does press down on the head. So yeah, wouldn't be terribly comfortable to wear long term. However, if you pick the size right so that you can wear an armor cap underneath, which as far as I know are not accurate for the time period, at least I don't think there are any preserved finds of padded arming caps for the Viking Age, even though they may very well have worn them. Anyway, so there are some liberties taken with this. So if you compare this directly to the original, you can definitely see there are some differences. They shape the spectacle differently, and some of the details are different. The mail aventail, this is unfortunately just butted mail. If you don't know what that is, you can see the difference right here between this mail shirt and that. This mail shirt here is riveted. I don't know if you can see the rivets at this distance, whereas in this case the rings have just been closed, so this is far weaker. By the way, before you point out that there are holes in this mail shirt, I know, I put them there myself. I poked it with a spear, and one of these holes just is pretty convenient for putting the mic. Anyway, so yeah, I've got some issues with this. For one, it already came with a hole here in the aventail, so there are definitely some imperfections here and there, among other things. I mean, the antique look is not really pulled off terribly well, in my opinion. It's got all kinds of pitting here, and it's of course intentional. It's definitely taken a toll on the material, which is 14 gauge steel, by the way. Most likely mild steel, it's generally what is used. The original was iron, and there's definitely some variation I noticed. Let's see here. So 14 gauge would be around 2 millimeters, and depending on where I take the measurement, right here it's 1.9, here it's 2, then right here it's 2.1, I think I had a 1.8 somewhere, so it definitely depends on exactly where, which is not a big deal. I mean, the originals also varied in thickness. Here we've got 2.3 even. So yeah, the originals were not of uniform thickness, of course, so that's not an issue. The thickness is definitely adequate. This is quite a sturdy helmet. I don't think you need any more than this kind of thickness. I don't know, unfortunately, how thick the original is. Haven't been able to find measurements, but I would think it's probably a bit thinner than that. Generally, they weren't terribly thick. Except, maybe in the front or in the brow area, they tended to be a little thicker there. The sides often tended to be thinner. And, well, as I said, the liner is a bit of an issue. It's a pretty simple thing. I'll show you a close-up. And my particular problem with this here is At first glance, it looks like it might be stitched, but this is just where the two parts of the liner were stitched together, and the liner itself is actually glued in place, and it is pretty terrible glue, apparently. You can see this comes off quite easily. So yeah, this is not going to be terribly durable. In fact, there was one review on Cult of Athena of someone who said that he took it out and actually stitched the liner and did some other improvements to the helmet, which is definitely not a bad idea. You could probably make this look pretty decent with some work. As it is, you know, essentially you're going to look like a budget Viking. It is a budget helmet, and it does show, I have to say that. Although, at the same time, I also have to say it's by far not the worst I've seen. I mean, the worst cheap Viking helmets look like absolute ridiculousness, in my opinion. So this is one of the better ones, actually, in the cheap range, as far as looks are concerned. And it's definitely closer to the original than a lot of them that I've seen. So it's acceptable for the price, I suppose. But yeah, it certainly has some limitations. The rivets here and there are also not a pretty thing to behold. They are, in some cases, kind of crooked, and overall it's, you know, it's not the most thorough craftsmanship, I would say, on this, which, again, to be fair, is kind of to be expected at the price. I'm not sure if there's too much else to say. This happens to be a medium. I would say probably the wrong size for me, because as it is without a cap, it's a little loose. I'm just going to put this back on and show you. So it definitely moves quite a bit. The chin strap doesn't alleviate that a whole lot. And I mean, obviously it's not custom fitted, which armor should be, ideally. That's generally the problem with off-the-shelf kind of stuff. It's actually a little tight front to back, so it presses against my forehead, but the sides have quite a lot of space. And with this, I cannot fit an arming cap underneath. So if I went for the large size, I could probably get a padded cap underneath. It might still be a little bit large with a cap at that size. If your head circumference is less than 58 centimeters, you can probably just about fit a thin cap underneath. Otherwise, you probably need to go for the large. And I guess a helmet review wouldn't be complete without doing this. Well, it works. As I said, 14 gauge. It's pretty good stuff. In this case, because of the way it fits, the front part knocks against my forehead when I do this, which is of course not terribly pleasant. So padding would definitely be good. Overall, I'd say it's kind of meh, although for the price, I suppose it's okay. Keep in mind though, I don't have extensive experience with helmets. I haven't owned many so far, so this is just my opinion based on, well, this and just a couple others. So yeah, I hope you found the review helpful. Check out the links in the video description below. I'm also going to post a link to a well-known, very skilled armorer in Canada if you're interested in getting a more historically accurate version made. He has I think last time I checked, his waiting list was 1 year, so you have time to save up for it. And they're not cheap, but you definitely get what you pay for in that case. Thanks for watching and have a good one, folks. Oh, and don't forget to sacrifice some Christians to Odin. I'm kidding.